3 weeks had passed since Maya's embarrassing first day. She had settled into a routine of classes, studying, and trying not to draw attention to herself. But staying invisible was becoming harder each day. That advanced xenobiology class, Professor Yilith Ka, a tall creature covered in green scales, displayed images of different alien species on the wall. The other students used their enhanced memory systems to catalog every detail perfectly. Maya watched them recite facts like living computers. These creatures from Gamma Sector show clear signs of aquatic evolution, Zix 409 said, his 4 eyes scanning the data streams that appeared in the air around him. Lung capacity indicates deep water adaptation. Bone density suggests high-pressure environment tolerance. Maya raised her hand slowly. Professor Yelethka looked surprised. The human student rarely spoke in class. Yes, Maya Bennett? I think they might be related to the Corvic species from Beta Sector, Maya said. The gill patterns are similar, and both have that same way of moving their limbs, like they're swimming even on land. The classroom went quiet. Professor Yelethka's scales changed from green to yellow, which Maya had learned meant surprise. That is an interesting observation, the professor said. These species are separated by thousands of light years. There is no known connection. But what if there was? Maya asked, feeling more confident. What if both planets were seeded by the same ancestor species millions of years ago? The similar traits could be evidence of common origin, not separate evolution. Professor Yelethka stared at the images for a long moment. Then she pulled up new data, comparing genetic markers that Maya could not understand. The professor's scales shifted to bright orange. Remarkable, she whispered. The genetic evidence supports your hypothesis. How did you see this connection? Maya shrugged. They just looked related to me. Like how you can tell cousins are from the same family, even if they grew up in different places. Zix 409 turned to stare at Maya. You made this connection based on visual patterns alone? Without genetic analysis or evolutionary modeling? I guess so, Maya said, suddenly feeling like she had done something wrong again. But Professor Yelethka was still examining the data. This connection has never been noticed before. It could change our understanding of how life spreads across the galaxy. After class, Maya walked to her next course feeling confused. Had she really discovered something important, or was she just lucky? Strategic thinking was taught by Commander Veltoth, a massive creature that looked like a walking tank with too many teeth. His species, the Krethtar, were famous throughout the galaxy as master warriors and tactical experts. Today you will participate in combat simulation, Commander Veltoth announced in his voice like grinding rocks. Teams of 4. Objective is to capture the enemy base while defending your own. Maya found herself teamed with Zix 409, a crystal being named Prison 7, and a furry creature called Fluffy Deathbringer. She tried not to laugh at the last name. Their opponents were 4 Krethtar students who looked just as scary as their teacher. Maya's team gathered to plan their strategy. I will calculate optimal approach vectors, Zix 409 said, numbers already flowing through his enhanced mind. I will analyze defensive weaknesses in their base structure, Prism 7 added, their crystal body glowing as they processed architectural data. I will plan frontal assault, Fluffy Deathbringer growled. Despite looking like a stuffed animal, they all looked at Maya. What will you do? Zix 409 asked. Maya watched the Krethtar team on the other side of the simulation arena. They were big, strong, and trained for war. Her team was trying to beat them at their own game. What if we don't fight them at all? Maya said. Explain, Fluffy Deathbringer demanded. They expect us to either attack their base or defend ours. What if we do something else entirely? Maya pointed to the simulation map. Look, there's a neutral zone in the middle with resources that both teams need. What if we get there first and control it? Then we make them come to us on our terms. That strategy is not in the tactical database, 6409 said. That's exactly why it might work, Maya replied. Her team looked doubtful, but they had no better ideas. The simulation began, and Maya watched the Krethtar team do exactly what she expected. Half moved to attack her team's base, half stayed to defend theirs. But Maya's team was already moving to the neutral zone. They reached it first and set up defensive positions around the resource points. When the Krethtar team realized what was happening, they had to split their forces 3 ways: attack, defend, and try to retake the neutral zone. Maya coordinated her team's movements, calling out changes in strategy as the situation developed. She noticed patterns in how the Krethtar team moved and predicted their next actions. When they tried to overwhelm one position, Maya had her team abandon it and hit them from behind. When they tried to spread out, Maya concentrated her forces to defeat them piece by piece. The simulation ended with Maya's team controlling both the neutral zone and the enemy base. The Krethtar team had been so confused by the unexpected tactics that they never managed to coordinate properly. Commander Veltoth stared at the results displayed on his screen. This outcome was not predicted by any tactical analysis program. We just adapted as things changed, Maya said. When they did something, we did something different. Adaptive tactics, Commander Veltoth rumbled. Interesting concept. After the class, 6409 walked with Maya toward the dining hall. How did you predict their movements? He asked. I watched how they walked, how they looked at each other. Which one made decisions first? People have patterns, even when they're trying to be unpredictable. People? 6409 stopped walking. You think of us as people? Maya looked confused. Well, yes. Different from humans, but still people with feelings and ways of thinking. 6409 was quiet for a long time. Most species see others as either allies or threats, resources or obstacles. You see persons. That evening, Maya met Jake in the maintenance section of the station. He was working on a broken air recycling unit while she told him about her day. Sounds like you're starting to make an impression, Jake said, not looking up from his work. I'm not trying to. I just answer questions the way they make sense to me. Jake smiled. That's exactly what I mean. You're not trying to prove humans are better than everyone else. You're just being human. And that's something this place has never seen before. What do you mean? Jake put down his tools and looked at her seriously. Every species here evolved to fill a specific role. The Zephyrians became living computers. The Krethtar became perfect warriors. The crystal beings became data processors. They're all really good at one thing. And humans? Humans had to survive on a world that kept changing. Ice ages, floods, droughts, predators, diseases. We never had time to specialize. We had to stay flexible, creative, ready for anything. Maya thought about this. So we're the generalists. More than that, Jake said, we're the adapters. We're the ones who can look at a new situation and figure out what to do, even if we've never seen it before. But everyone here is so much smarter than me. Jake laughed. Smart isn't just about calculating faster or remembering more data. It's about solving problems. And humans might be the best problem solvers in the galaxy. Later that night, Maya lay in bed thinking about what Jake had said. She thought about her biology class, where she had seen connections that others missed. She thought about the tactical simulation, where she had found a solution by thinking differently, maybe being. Human was not about being the best at any one thing. Maybe it was about seeing all the things that others missed because they were too focused on their specialties down in the lower levels of the station. Ancient systems that had been sleeping for thousands of years began to stir. Sensors that had not activated since the station was built started to scan for something they had been programmed to find long ago. The tests were about to begin, and Maya Bennett was about to discover just how valuable being human could be. Maya was eating breakfast with Jake when the lights in the dining hall started flashing red. A voice echoed through the station in a language that her translator could not understand. All around them, alien students stopped eating and looked. Worried, "What's happening?" Maya asked. Before Jake could answer, Commander Veltoth's voice came over the communication system. "All students and staff report to emergency stations immediately. This is not a drill." The dining hall erupted in chaos. Students from different species moved in different directions, some flying, some running, others moving in ways that Maya had no words for. She followed Jake as he led her through corridors she had never seen before. "Emergency stations are scattered throughout the station," Jake explained as they ran. "Each section has its own safe area." They reached a large room filled with dozens of students and several professors. Maya recognized Zix 409, Harmony of Whispers, and Professor Kethvar among the crowd. Everyone looked frightened. Dr. Zelenara, the head researcher, stood at the front of the room. She was an insect-like creature with 6 legs and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Maya had seen her around the station, but had never spoken. To her, "The ancient defense system has activated," Dr. Zelenara announced. "We do not know why. The system was built by a race that disappeared thousands of years ago. It has sealed all exits from the station." A Krethtar student raised his massive arm. "Can we not simply break through the barriers?" "The barriers are made of energy we do not understand," Dr. Zelenara replied. "Our weapons have no effect. We are trapped until the system deactivates." "How do we deactivate it?" Zix 409 asked. Dr. Zelenara's compound eyes dimmed. "The system appears to be running some kind of test. It has presented us with a series of puzzles and challenges. Each time we fail, the security level increases." Professor Kethvar clicked his metal arms together nervously. "What kind of challenges?" "Mathematical problems, logic puzzles, combat, simulations, and other tests. Different species have attempted to solve them using their natural abilities. All have failed." Maya felt her stomach drop. "What happens if we keep failing?" Dr. Zelenara was quiet for a moment. "The final security level involves ... deadly force." The room filled with frightened voices speaking in dozens of languages. Maya looked around at all the brilliant alien minds and felt more useless than ever. If they could not solve these puzzles, what could she possibly do? "The system has just presented us with a new challenge," Dr. Zelenara said, looking at a device in her hand. "It appears to be some kind of spatial reasoning test." On the wall, a complex 3-dimensional shape appeared. It was constantly changing, folding and unfolding in ways that made Maya's eyes hurt to follow. Numbers and symbols surrounded it in patterns that seemed to have no meaning. "I will attempt to solve it," announced a crystal being named Diamond Mind. Their species was famous for processing complex data. Diamond Mind's body began to glow as they focused on the puzzle. Minutes passed. Diamond Mind's glow grew brighter and brighter until Maya had to look away. Finally, the glow faded and Diamond Mind collapsed. "I cannot process the pattern," Diamond Mind gasped. "It changes according to rules I do not understand." Next, a group of Zephyrians tried working together, their enhanced minds calculating thousands of possibilities per second. They failed as well. The Luminous students attempted to perceive the puzzle through multiple dimensions. The Krethtar tried to solve it through tactical analysis. The insectoid Hivari tried to approach it as a biological system. Every attempt failed. Maya watched the shape on the wall, not really trying to solve it, but just letting her eyes follow its movements. There was something familiar about the way it changed, like a dance she had seen before, but could not remember where. "Wait," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Maya felt her face get hot, but she continued. "It's not a math problem," she said. "It's a pattern, but not the kind you calculate. It's like ... like music." "Music?" Professor Kethvar's voice was full of doubt. Maya stood up and walked closer to the wall. "Look, it has rhythm. The changes aren't random. They repeat, but with variations, like a song with verses and chorus." She began to hum softly, following the rhythm of the shape's transformations. As she hummed, she noticed that the shape seemed to respond, its changes becoming more regular. "The system is reacting to her," Dr. Zelenara whispered. Maya continued humming and began moving her hands in the air, following the shape's movements. She was not trying to calculate anything or analyze the pattern. She was just feeling it, the way she might feel music or dance. The shape on the wall began to slow down. Its changes became simpler, more predictable. Finally, it settled into a stable form that everyone could understand. The red lights stopped flashing. A new voice spoke from the walls, this time in a language the translators could handle. First challenge completed. Adaptive thinking recognized. Proceeding to second challenge. The room was silent. Everyone stared at Maya. Double quotes. "How did you do that?" Zix 409 asked. Maya shrugged. "I don't know. It just felt like it wanted me to follow along instead of trying to control it." Dr. Zelenara was studying her device with intense focus. "Maya Bennett, your biometric readings during that test were ... unusual. Your brain activity showed patterns we have never seen before." "Is that bad?" Maya asked. "On the contrary, it may be exactly what we need." The second challenge appeared. A combat scenario where they had to defend against virtual attackers while protecting virtual civilians. The Krethtar students immediately took charge, organizing defensive positions and attack strategies. But Maya noticed something the warriors missed. "The attackers aren't trying to hurt the civilians," she said. "They're hurting them." "Hurting them toward what?" Commander Veltoth asked. Maya studied the simulation, watching the movements of both attackers and civilians. "Toward us." "The civilians aren't people we're supposed to protect. They're weapons the attackers are using against us." This insight changed everything. Instead of protecting the civilians, Maya's team had to avoid them while fighting the attackers. Her unconventional thinking once again led to success. Challenge after challenge appeared. Each one required a different kind of thinking, emotional intelligence to communicate with an artificial mind, creative problem-solving to escape from an impossible maze, intuitive leaps to understand alien technology. Maya found herself becoming the center of every solution, not because she was smarter than everyone else, but because she approached each problem differently. Where others tried to use their specialized abilities, Maya used whatever worked. She combined logic with intuition, analysis with creativity, knowledge with imagination. "I am beginning to understand," Dr. Zelenara said as they completed the seventh challenge. This system was not built to test specific abilities. It was built to test adaptability itself. "What do you mean?" Maya asked. "The ancient race that built this station may have faced the same problem we face now. Specialization makes species powerful in specific areas, but weak when facing the unknown. They built this system to find beings who could adapt, who could think in new ways when old ways failed." Jake had been quiet through most of the challenges, but now he spoke up. "You think they were looking for humans?" "Not humans specifically," Dr. Zelenara said, "but beings like humans. Beings who never stopped learning, never stopped changing, never became too specialized to grow." The eighth challenge appeared on the wall. This one was bigger and more complex than all the others combined. Maya looked at it and felt a chill of fear. She could sense that this was the final test, and if they failed, the consequences would be deadly. But she also felt something else, excitement. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she was not trying to be like everyone else. She was being herself, and that was exactly what was needed. The real test was about to begin. Maya Bennett pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship and gasped. The space station floating before her was bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. Nexus Prime Academy, stretched out like a metal mountain in space, with glowing lights that looked like stars scattered across its surface. Ships from dozens of different worlds flew around it like busy insects. "First time seeing the academy?" asked the pilot, a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. His voice came through the translator device that all students had to wear. "Yes," Maya said, trying not to sound nervous. "It's amazing." The pilot laughed, a sound like water bubbling. "You humans are so easily impressed. Wait until you see the inside." Maya sat back in her seat and checked her bag one more time. Everything was there: her acceptance letter, her Earth clothes, and a small photo of her family back home. She was the first human ever to study at Nexus Prime Academy. The thought made her stomach feel tight with worry. The docking process took 20 minutes. Maya watched other students getting off different ships. Some looked like giant insects, with shiny shells. Others were tall and thin like walking trees. One group seemed to be made of living crystal that sparkled in the light. Maya looked down at herself, just a normal human girl with brown hair and regular clothes. She felt very small and very ordinary. Inside the station, the main hall was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Maya could not see the top. Hundreds of alien students moved around, talking in languages that her translator could not handle fast enough. The sound was like being inside a busy market, but louder and stranger. "You must be the human," said a voice behind her. Maya turned around to see a creature that looked like a metal spider, the size of a person. It had 6 arms and glowing red eyes. Maya tried not to step backward. "I am Professor Kethvar," the creature said. "I teach basic sciences. You are in my first class." "Nice to meet you," Maya said, holding out her hand. Professor Kethvar looked at her hand like she was offering him something dirty. "Humans shake hands to greet each other," Maya explained. "How primitive," Professor Kethvar said. "We will have to teach you proper manners. Follow me." Maya pulled her hand back and felt her cheeks get hot. She followed the professor through the crowded hall, trying to ignore the stares from other students. Some pointed at her and whispered to each other. Others just looked curious, like she was an interesting animal in a zoo. The classroom was a round room with seats that went up like steps in a circle. Professor Kethvar walked to the center while students found their places. Maya sat in the back, hoping not to be noticed. "Today we begin with basic mathematical concepts," Professor Kethvar announced. "Each species will demonstrate their natural abilities." A student who looked like a tall, thin person with pale blue skin raised one of his 4 hands. "I am Zix 409, from Zephyr Prime," he said. His voice was smooth and cold. "I will solve the equation you display." Professor Kethvar projected numbers onto the wall, a math problem so long and complicated that Maya could not even read all of it. Zix 409 stared at it for exactly 3 seconds and gave an answer. The professor nodded with approval. "Excellent," as expected from a Zephyrian mind. Next, a student who looked like she was made of living light floated up from her seat. "I am Harmony of Whispers," she said in a voice like singing. "I will demonstrate dimensional perception." Maya watched as Harmony of Whispers somehow made the air around her bend and twist. She seemed to be seeing things that were not there, or maybe seeing the same things from different angles at once. Other students made sounds of appreciation. One by one, each alien student showed off abilities that Maya could not even understand. Some could connect their minds to computers. Others could change the shape of metal just by touching it. One student could predict what would happen 30 seconds in the future. And now, Professor Kethvar said, his red eyes turning toward Maya, our human exchange student will demonstrate what her species can do. Maya felt every eye in the room looking at her. Her mouth went dry. She stood up slowly, her legs feeling shaky. Double quotes she started, then stopped. What could she do? She could not solve math problems in 3 seconds. She could not see through dimensions or predict the future. She was just a regular person from Earth. I can adapt, she said finally, her voice barely loud enough to hear. Some students laughed. Others looked confused. Adapt? Professor Kethvar said, that is not a demonstration. Show us something your species can do that others cannot. Maya felt her face burning with embarrassment. I don't know. I'm just ... human. Professor Kethvar made a sound like metal scraping against metal. Disappointing. It seems Earth was given a place here out of charity rather than merit. Take your seat. Maya sat down quickly, wishing she could disappear. The rest of the class continued, but she barely heard any of it. She kept thinking about home, about how her parents had been so proud when she got accepted to the academy. Now she felt like she had already failed them. After class, Maya walked through the halls trying to find her dormitory. The station was like a maze, with corridors that curved in directions that hurt her brain to think about. She was completely lost when someone called her name. Maya, over here. She turned to see a man with brown hair and friendly eyes walking toward her. He was wearing work clothes and carrying a toolbox. You're the new human student, right? I'm Jake Morrison. I work maintenance here. You're human too? Maya felt relief wash over her like cool water. Been here 5 years now, Jake said. Saw your first class didn't go so well. Maya looked at the floor. I made a fool of myself. I don't belong here. Jake laughed, but not in a mean way. That's what I thought too when I first arrived. These aliens, they're all specialists. Each species evolved to be really good at one thing. But humans? We're different. Different how? Maya asked. We're generalists. We can do a little bit of everything instead of one thing perfectly. Problem is, nobody here has figured out why that matters yet. Jake showed Maya the way to her dormitory, pointing out important places along the way. The dining hall where she could get food that would not poison her human body. The library with books in Earth languages. The recreation area where she could exercise. Give it time, Jake said as they reached her door. This place has a way of surprising you. And maybe you'll surprise them too. That night, Maya lay in her small bed looking out the window at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there, so far away that its light would take years to reach her. She thought about her first day and how badly it had gone. But she also thought about what Jake had said. Maybe being human meant something different than she had thought. She did not know it yet, but in just a few days, everything would change. The academy would face a crisis that none of their specialized abilities could solve. And Maya would discover that being just human was exactly what the universe needed. The final challenge filled the entire wall with swirling colors and shapes that seemed to move through dimensions Maya could not understand. Strange sounds came from speakers around the room, like voices speaking in a language that had never been heard before. This is unlike anything in our databases, Dr. Zelenara said, her compound eyes reflecting the shifting patterns. It appears to be some form of communication, but not with us. Maya walked closer to the wall, feeling something familiar in the chaos. The patterns reminded her of something she had seen before, but she could not remember what. The system is trying to talk to something, she said quietly. Talk to what? Professor Kethvar asked. Maya closed her eyes and listened to the strange sounds. Beneath the alien voices, she could hear something else. A rhythm, like a heartbeat, but slower. And deeper. To itself, she said suddenly. It's trying to remember who it is. She opened her eyes and looked at the crowd of frightened students and teachers. What if this whole test wasn't about solving puzzles? What if it was about teaching the system how to think again? Dr. Zelenarias' device beeped rapidly. The system's processing patterns are becoming more complex. Maya may be correct. Maya approached the wall slowly. The patterns seemed to react to her presence, becoming more organized. She placed her hand on the surface and felt a vibration, like electricity, running through her fingers. I think it's been alone for thousands of years, she said. All this time, waiting for someone to help it remember what it was supposed to do. The voices from the speakers grew louder, more urgent. Maya could hear fear in them, loneliness, confusion. Without thinking, she began to speak to the wall. It's okay, she said softly. You're not alone anymore. We're here. The patterns on the wall shifted, becoming calmer. The voices quieted. We don't want to fight you, Maya continued. We just want to understand. Can you help us understand? For a moment, everything was silent. Then the wall began to glow with soft white light. The alien voices were replaced by something that sounded almost human, not the words, but the emotion behind them. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. The system was not angry or dangerous. It was just scared and lonely, like she had been on her first day at the academy. You've been waiting so long, she whispered, but you don't have to wait anymore. The light on the wall pulsed once, twice, then faded to a gentle glow. The red warning lights throughout the station turned green. The voice that came from the speakers now was clear and warm. Test completed. Species evaluation. Adaptive intelligence confirmed. Welcome to Nexus Prime Academy. The room erupted in cheers and relieved voices. Students hugged each other, teachers congratulated their classes, and everyone began talking at once about what had just happened. But Maya barely heard any of it. She was still standing by the wall, her hand pressed against its surface. She could feel the ancient system's presence, calm now and somehow grateful. Dr. Zelenara approached her slowly. Maya Bennett, what you just did. It should not have been possible. I just listened, Maya said. Everyone was trying to solve the system like it was a machine. But it wasn't a machine. It was alive, just lonely. Your species possesses abilities we have never encountered, Dr. Zelenara said. The capacity to empathize with alien intelligence, to adapt to completely unknown situations, to find solutions that no logical analysis could predict. Jake walked over and put his hand on Maya's shoulder. Told you being human was special. Over the next few days, everything changed. News of what happened spread throughout the galaxy faster than Maya had thought possible. Ships arrived at the station, carrying reporters, scientists, and government officials from dozens of worlds, all wanting to meet the human who had solved the ancient mystery. Maya found herself invited to give talks to classes she had never attended. Students who had barely noticed her before now asked for her help with their assignments. Professors requested her input on research projects. ZYX-409 approached her in the dining hall, where she was trying to eat lunch while ignoring the stares from other students. I owe you an apology, he said, his 4 eyes looking embarrassed. I thought humans were primitive because you could not calculate as fast as we can. You don't need to apologize, Maya said. Math is important, but it is not everything. Zix 409 continued. You showed us that intelligence has many forms. I would like to learn about human thinking, if you would teach me. Maya smiled. I'd like to learn about Zephyrian thinking, too. Maybe we can help each other. Harmony of whispers floated over to their table, her light form shimmering with curiosity. May I join this learning exchange? My people have studied consciousness for centuries, but we never considered emotional adaptation as a form of intelligence. Soon, their table was crowded with students from different species, all eager to understand how Maya had succeeded where they had failed. Maya found herself explaining concepts she had never thought about before. How humans used intuition, how they combined different types of thinking, how they stayed flexible when facing new challenges. Professor Cathvar stopped by their table, his red eyes glowing with what Maya now recognized as approval. Miss Bennett, I am redesigning my curriculum to include adaptive thinking courses. Would you be willing to help develop the teaching methods? Maya nearly choked on her food. You want me to help teach? Your species has much to offer our understanding of intelligence, Professor Cathvar said. We have been too focused on specialization. Perhaps it is time to learn about generalization. That evening, Maya walked with Jake through the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The deck was busier than usual, filled with students from different species talking together in groups that would have been impossible just a week ago. Look at that, Jake said, pointing to a corner where a Krethtar warrior was learning meditation. Techniques from a Lumina philosopher, while a Zephyrian calculated the mathematical patterns of consciousness. You didn't just solve an ancient puzzle. You got everyone talking to each other. Maya watched the mixed groups of students. They were always smart. They just needed to see that different kinds of smart can work together. That's the human gift, Jake said. We're not the best at anything, but we're good at bringing out the best in everyone. Dr. Zelenara found them at the observation window. Maya, I have something to show you. She handed Maya a datapad with a report written in simple language that Maya could understand. This is my analysis of your species, Dr. Zelenara said. I am recommending that the Galactic Educational Consortium establish exchange programs with Earth immediately. Not just one student, but hundreds. Maya read the report with growing amazement. It described humans as adaptive generalists whose ability to think flexibly and empathize across species barriers made them uniquely valuable for galactic civilization. You think other humans can do what I did? Maya asked. I think every human has the potential to see solutions that specialized minds might miss. Dr. Zelenara replied. Your species may be exactly what the galaxy needs as we face new challenges in the unknown regions of space. Maya looked back out at the stars, thinking about Earth and all the humans who had no idea they were part of something bigger. Tomorrow, she would start recording messages to send home, telling her parents and teachers about what she had learned. Not just about alien species and advanced technology, but about what it meant to be human in a universe full of wonders. She was no longer the awkward exchange student trying to fit in. She was Maya Bennett, human, and that was exactly who she was supposed to be. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but humans had something special to offer in exploring it, the ability to adapt, to empathize, and to find new ways of thinking. When old ways failed, the unknown threat had turned out to be the greatest gift the universe could have asked for.